If they set that android free, it will be the end of all of us! No!
Hey, it's me, the Salsa Drinker. Yeah. My spine!
What's up? We're trying something new, and I hope you like it, because it's probably gonna stick. This was all very expensive. I got a mic. I got a little custom mic flag that you probably can't see because of the glare. We love that. And I got a set. And today we're talking anime, baby. Now, I've always been a bit of a shut-in, way more extroverted than introverted. I meant the opposite of that. That just happens when you're a bit of a loser, really. And you might have seen the title to this video and wondered to yourself, how do you lose a full calendar year of your life to something as stupid as, well, this? I'll tell you how. By waiting until your mid-20s to get into something so vast and ignoring every problem that comes your way by consuming all the media you can. Would not recommend it. So I'm just gonna tell all of you how I got into anime for the first time, and how my deteriorating mental state affected the influence of my decisions. Hoping to introduce some of y'all to some anime you may not have seen, and give an honest, cautionary tale of how not to deal with your problems. I wish I did it differently, to be honest. So, let's start with the origin story. So when I was a kid, I used to like anime. I vividly remember catching Toonami late Saturday nights and just being so enthralled in what I would see. It was unlike anything I had seen at that point. And it wasn't just Toonami. Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Would air during the day, stuff like that, and 4Kids was a thing, and, you know, yeah. And Avatar: The Last Airbender and Teen Titans were massive in my childhood, and I just remember seeing the cutesy anime humor that would come from those shows that American animation didn't really do that often, and I didn't understand why, or I didn't understand the influence that anime had on Western animation at the time. Also, for some reason, when I was like 7 or 8, my dad showed me Akira, which is pretty based of him. I can't lie. That is not a movie for young kids, but I remember enjoying it, and like, he used to be an artist, and so I remember he would just like nerd out about old school anime and the way it was drawn. I think I still have the DVD, actually. Hang on. I do still have the DVD. It's super dusty, and it's got spider webs on it, but he left it here. You know, so, oh god, it's getting dust everywhere. Okay, but I have it. I remember he showed me Tekken the Motion Picture as a kid, which I really enjoyed for some reason. But more than that, I remember he introduced me to Dragon Ball. I was so young that it's hard to remember, but I vividly remember the house on the little island and just being like confused at the design of it. It was so simple, but it was so aesthetic-y. I really don't know how to describe it. And I remember him telling me who the characters were, and I was trying to catch along, and we laughed because one of the characters' names was Chi-Chi, and Chi-Chi's in Spanish means boobies. So pretty highbrow humor there, I can't lie. So in the early 2000s, the big three really started to pop off, and like most kids at the time, I got super into Naruto. And I was a nerdy kid, so I was into Star Wars, comics, wrestling, and anime. And I remember being heavily bullied for liking all of these things. You gotta remember, this is the early 2000s. It wasn't cool to like these things yet, so I got punished for it. And in a desperate attempt to be cool among my loser peers, I stopped liking the things I liked. I stopped watching wrestling, I stopped watching Star Wars, I stopped watching Marvel and DC cartoons, and I stopped watching anime. I remember I would try to secretly get back into it, like playing Ultimate Ninja Storm on my Wii, or trying to watch Naruto on Hulu, and I would only get as far as the Chunin exams before my inner conflict would come in and stop me from liking this thing that's really cool. Keep in mind, I don't like Naruto now. Even throughout middle school and high school, when anime really started to hit the mainstream and become a lot more openly appreciated, I didn't really have the guts to get back into it because, well, everyone at my school looked like this, so do you really think these Edgars are gonna give me a break? I'm from a specific part of a specific town, and they all liked the same thing, so if it wasn't Banda and Takis, your interests just weren't gonna get talked about. And the kids at my school who did like anime didn't exactly give it the best reputation. Naruto running their way to the front of the lunch line, or LARPing and practicing jutsus in the middle of passing period, hanging out in front of the theater. Anime didn't get the best rep in high school is all I'm saying. So I didn't really feel like I was missing much from it. Even despite the fact that in high school, I got back into a lot of the things that I neglected as a kid. I got back into Star Wars, I got back into comics, and I got back into wrestling. But for some reason, I had no interest to get back into anime. It was just completely outside of my world. And from what I assumed and heard at the time, and the very little that I did see, I just assumed all anime was shonen clones like Naruto or just weird hentai, because those are the only two things I knew about. This ideology continued until June of 2021. After 3 years of being just so sick, monthly blood tests, twice a week full body scans, and a ton of medication, I was finally allowed to return to the workforce. I got put onto a crew of people ranging from my age to mid-50s, and after years of isolation and then the pandemic, I realized something. People suck. People really fucking suck. People are the worst, especially warehouse people. They are so miserable and they will make it your problem. But there were 3 people on my crew who seemed to stand out. They were about my age and seemed nice enough, but I could never get a word in with them because all they ever talked about was anime. And I mean all they talked about was anime. Literally nothing else. I think it's kind of weird even now. And specifically, they always talked about One Piece. In a desperate attempt to make friends, I started watching One Piece, which let me just say is probably the worst beginner anime you could start if you're barely getting into the genre. I like One Piece, but good lord is it long, and even the anime is... No, just don't do it. But I didn't know that at the time, and if it was all these dudes talked about, surely it must be good. And you know what? It was good. Aww. But my crew members kept warning me that the pacing in the anime is atrocious and I should just read the manga if I'm gonna get into One Piece. Now, I had never really touched manga ever. I've been reading comics my whole life, so I figured it can't be that different. I'll just read from right to left, and which was a transition to be sure, but I did that and I liked it. And it gave me a lot of time because there's a lot of downtime at my job, so I would just read One Piece at work and I could do whatever at home. I wasn't tied down to watching this super long show with thousands of episodes. But as the days went by, they really wanted me to get more into anime, which is something I didn't want to do if I'm being honest. I only started watching One Piece to make friends and that worked, so hey, I could stop here. But one of the guys who is just super persistent eventually got me to hop on Discord so we could watch together Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, JJK, in my humble opinion, is also a bad beginner anime. Only because the power system is pretty complex, and if you're not used to, or at least not into shonen tropes, it's gonna be kind of confusing and a little irritating watching it, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Especially if you're not used to seeing Japanese names and all that, it was a lot for me. And because of that, it took us months to get through the first season, which was the only one that was out at the time. It wasn't even until the Junpei arc that I actually started to get interested, and even then, after finishing it, I thought the show was okay. It was good. Carried by animation, sure, but I like it, okay, relax. But after months of getting closer to more people at my job, I realized how mainstream anime is. I mean, everybody's watching something. 2 of the most popular at the time were Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer. In early January of that year, I got COVID. I was off work and couldn't go in, so I had nothing but time to watch anime. I wanted to start Attack on Titan or Demon Slayer, and I remember scrolling through the options on Hulu and discovering a third one. An anime that I had completely forgotten about. One that I really remember as a kid but forgot entirely. A show that I distinctly remember seeing on Toonami all those years ago but had completely forgotten about. That show was Inuyasha. As soon as I started this show, it felt like everything came flooding back. Memories from a lost time that seemed so influential. I have always loved half animal, half human designs like Neko Girls or stuff like that, and I think it all resonates back to this show. I remember seeing the half dog demon Inuyasha and just being so enthralled by him. And seeing designs similar to him afterwards made me feel things I didn't understand. And the memories I got from specific moments of the show or the music, and yeah, I'm gonna do the meme that everyone's done a million times. But I remember waking up in the middle of the night in the early 2000s and just seeing this on the distant TV screen. I do not think I can wear the rest of the video. It is so hot. So much is worth praising when it comes to Inuyasha, but this anime made me accept Japanese music. I used to make fun of K-pop stans, and I get it now. I'm sorry. I completely understand. It wasn't until hearing anime openings and endings that I was like, holy goddamn, these things are fire. And to be fair, I would often make fun of how annoying the stans were, not necessarily because they were listening to foreign music. I immediately resonated with the story and the characters. Kagome is one of the best main characters I think I've ever seen. I'm not biased, she is. She's very clear and precise with what she wants, and she's willing to fight for it. She's thrusted into a whole new world, and when she comes face to face with demons, she chooses to live and continues to fight. It's so good. Inuyasha himself is a bit of a jerk, he's brash, but you know, it's his growth that keeps you watching. I think Rumiko Takahashi is really good at writing male growth in her shows. Like, you really see that in all of her work. I feel like I could dedicate a whole video to Sango herself. She's just one of the best characters I've seen in fiction. She's amazing. And Moroku is pretty funny despite keeping the pervy trope alive, which is not my thing. But it's not the worst I've ever seen. Like, it's, for the most part, he just harasses Sango, but she likes it, so, you know, you're gonna have to deal with it. The show has a villain of the week structure, but it works really well with the plot of the show. And it's really good at fleshing out side characters and villains. Jinenji, anybody? I love Jinenji. The villain Naraku has such a deep, vital hatred for the main cast, and he honestly reminds me of Reverse Flash in a kind of a funny way. Like, he's just a really big hater, and he orchestrates all these big, huge, master evil plans just to fuck with Inuyasha, not even to kill him. Like, he has the pettiness of a guy who was curved once and started watching alpha male podcasts and calling Andrew Tate the Messiah. The story itself is a tragic one at its core, so the episodes have a certain beauty to them that's really hard to replicate. Rumiko Takahashi is just one of the best mangakas I've ever seen, and her talent with writing romance in Inuyasha is just unparalleled. She's really good at what she does. It's got some of the best openings and endings I think I've ever seen. Some of the last ones are okay, but the fourth one for the Mount Hakurai arc, oh my god, it's so good. And the OST made for the show is just so amazing and fits every character to a T. In my opinion, it battles John Williams' score on Star Wars, or the stuff you'd see in Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. The score is that good. I don't know how to say his name. Kaoru Wada is just a genius when it came to scoring the show, that I have to believe he had some type of knowledge on the characters in the manga before making it, because each track fits everyone perfectly. The Inuyasha and Kagome track is just so slow and so beautiful. It perfectly replicates their romance and how it's tragic and how maybe he should have been with someone else, but because of the world's events, he can't. And maybe she shouldn't have been there, but because of the world's events, she is. But they fall in love anyway. It's just so good, and it fits them so well. Or the beautiful Sango theme, which just perfectly replicates how tragic she is as a character. The dark piano and the stormy sound to it just sounds so heartbreaking, but it picks up halfway through to show that she's not just this tragic backstory. She's gonna be the Demon Slayer. She's gonna be someone you could root for again. It's just so good. Or the beautiful Memories song that plays for the flashbacks, which is just so sad because everyone's flashbacks is so sad in that show. They're all perfectly chosen. It's just honestly so incredible. That being said, the anime is kind of long, and halfway through I decided I wanted to give another anime a shot to try to broaden my horizons. One of my friends gave me a couple rookie single-season animes to get through, and I chose Akame ga Kill. Akame ga Kill immediately hooked me right off the bat. It's one of those shows that's got a crazy first episode that's just so surprising it hooks you into watching the rest of the show. It was super surprising, super bloody, and I really liked how well written all the characters felt. Now, in hindsight, it's not one of the best written animes. It's just one of the first ones I watched, so I really liked it, but man, I love this thing. It's really good at creating striking and defining moments, even if getting there can feel kind of silly and cheesy, but man, once you're there, especially if you're not used to anime, this thing will hurt, man. It's a fun little revolution story with some kind of bland villains, but I will stand by Bulls, Suryu, and Esdeath. People are still simping over Esdeath, alright? So just relax. Mainly because of the design, but she's a great character too. It's got a lot of ambition and well-placed story beats, but when you compare it to some of the anime greats, it doesn't hold up the best. But in my opinion, this is a good starter anime if you're barely getting into it. It'll just give you trust issues, but hey, that builds character. Without spoiling anything, the ending left me so horrifically devastated that I wanted something lighthearted to get me happy again before getting back to Inuyasha. I saw some clips on YouTube of some random anime, and one of them seemed like just the right type of slice of life vibe I needed to help me cure my depression. So I started. Please don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro. No, hold on, wait. So, to be fair, I had no idea what this was going in. I just assumed it was this fun little romance story to enjoy to try to make me feel a little better. So, I started the first episode, and holy crap, I have not been thrown off like that since the last time I was on a bull ride. For some reason, I kept going with this show, honestly because it was kind of a guilty pleasure. I did like the fun little romance parts in it, but there was a lot of weird parts that made me uncomfortable. Like, it doesn't have as much fan service as some of the other ones, and y'all know they're out there, but it was a little weird. And it taught me to always be careful for who's walking down the hall when you're watching anime, which is a good lesson to learn. But in the end, it did have a lot of cute romantic moments that I did enjoy, and it kept me excited for season 2. But after those two anime, I went back to finish all of Inuyasha, plus the final act, which is the true last season of the show, even though it's technically a separate show. I remember being immediately thrown off by the VA change with Kagome. The iconic Monica story had retired in the years between Inuyasha and the final act, and was replaced by Kira Tozer. It's off-putting at first, but Tozer really settles into the role. And like, if there's such thing as a perfect replacement, it's gotta be this. Often when I'm watching, I completely forget that it's a different voice actress. They're just both that good at what they do. But the last act felt different as it's just the final season, so there's no room for filler. Everything hits you 100%. They could only fit in exactly what needed to be in here, and I think the show benefits a lot from that, even if it's a different art style. And man, I loved the last season. I loved all of Inuyasha, and as soon as I finished it, I was so devastated, but so in love with the ending. It's my favorite of all time. And after finishing the final act, I got into Yashahime, the next generation sequel to the show, kind of like Boruto to Naruto or Legend of Korra to Avatar. And I was skeptical and nervous because those two examples don't have great reputations for this next generation gig that everyone's doing. I was nervous that the show was going to be as bad as those two shows. Granted, I haven't seen either of them, but I just keep hearing bad things, and unfortunately, that was kind of the case. Yashahime isn't a bad show by any means, but it's really not great. Not nearly as good as Inuyasha. I mean, they got Rumiko Takahashi to design the characters, and shout out there because the characters look incredible, but it's just not the same. Plus, the plot of this show puts a really sour note on the end to Inuyasha, so it's just kind of like, what are we benefiting here from? It also does a specific thing with two characters that I don't fucking like at all, but what can you do? The villain of this show is okay, and it's not even like Naraku was a top tier villain, but we had Kagura, Hana, Benkotsu, Renkotsu, and so much more. The side characters too aren't nearly as interesting or as fun to invest in, but I still watched the show and enjoyed it because I loved the former show so much, and the old characters that we get to see from time to time. It's also the last time that Kirby Moro was able to voice Moroku because he sadly passed away after recording only the first episode of Yashahime, which is just devastating. A phenomenal talent gone way too soon. Thank you for making mine and so many other childhoods so much more memorable. Rest in peace. At the end of winter, I was decently healthy. At the start of my new job, I had exited a tumultuous situation that was badly affecting my personality and my mental state. Being almost a year past that point, I was consistent in the gym and lost over 50 pounds in 6 months. I was working for the first time in years. I was trying new things with new people. Everything seemed exciting. Everything seemed new. It felt like I was just scratching the surface of what happiness really started to feel like. It felt nice. What can possibly stand in my way now? As spring started to roll around, I started getting into some of the more seasonal releases, specifically My Dress Up Darling and Spy Family. Now, my coworkers recommended me Dress Up Darling because they swore it was the best rom-com they have ever seen, and I do like it, but it's so not the best. It's super over-reliant on fan service, and while yes, it's funny and cute at times, I just don't love Marin. Like, she's almost too perfect for Gojo, and you could tell that the show was written so guys watching could self-insert themselves as the main character. Like, Gojo is so bland and doesn't really do much. The perfect girl is gonna fall for him. Like, she's super into games and anime and porn, so she's super horny, but she's also a virgin because that's important. It's just like, I don't know. I don't love it. It's whatever. It's not my favorite. I liked it. On the complete opposite side, I loved Spy Family. I loved the mix of wholesome fun, great action, and hilarious comedy. Speaking of comedy, that outro.
Tiny little cat fights, burning all the black eye. Watch the planet proudly beat around, searching, but I never figured out where I'm going.
Shit's heat is all I'm gonna say. It's heat. My only issue with season 1 was the lack of Yor, but we're getting a lot more of her after season 1, so, you know, it's pretty good now. Still gotta watch the movie. I missed it. My supervisor at work was begging me to watch something he really liked instead of stuff that he had never really heard of. And after finishing my seasonals, I decided to give his show a shot. So I started Cowboy Bebop.
I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Cowboy Bebop is incredible. Like, it's so close to perfection, especially for the time. It's hard to put into words. There are countless character studies out there for each character in the show because they're all that well written. The world was so immersive, beautifully tragic, and just a wonder to see. I think stuff like Star Wars and Star Trek has kind of tainted the sci-fi genre. It makes the general audience think you can only go one way with it, and that idea is being fought against more and more these days, especially with stuff like Dune coming out. But seeing the world of Bebop through the scrappy lens of bounty hunters is the perfect way to see how truly lived in this world feels. This show isn't about fighting to make the world a better place. It's about surviving in a galaxy that doesn't care about you. Each character is so complex and real and all have their own individual trauma that they all address by the end of the series. I'm a radical Edward kind of guy. I just love the little rascal, and the hijinks they'd get up to was just so funny. I loved the mid-episode bumpers that brought me back to the Adult Swim vibe, which is just a vibe I love so much. I'm sure you know by now. Look, it's a classic for a reason, and if you haven't seen it, give it a watch. You will enjoy it. There is something in here for everybody. And the ending left me so disheartened at the reality of the world that I wanted to get something a bit more lighthearted again to make me feel better. That's kind of what I do. Enter life with an ordinary guy who was reincarnated into a total fantasy knockout. Yes, I'm serious. So being new to anime, seeing long-ass titles like that just wasn't something that I was used to. But it had me really intrigued just based off the ridiculous nature of the name. I actually really enjoyed this anime, and it caused me to get really into the genre of trash isekais, as they call them. You know, stuff like Reborn as a Vending Machine, I Now Wander the Dungeon, stuff like that. And I really like that one too, by the way. That one was good. I think I like this genre just because you know exactly what you're getting into. Silly nonsense with fun characters and a fantasy setting. Like, can't go wrong, I guess. And Total Fantasy Knockout is no different. It's about two bros who are totally not in love, but they get isekai'd into some fantasy world. One comes out okay, and the other one comes out as a beautiful blonde girl. So now they can fall in love, and it's not gay. I really enjoyed the yaoi nature of this show because it felt very natural and not forced like a lot of the American media I was receiving at the time. But after finishing that, I got super into Devil Was a Part-Timer. Now, mind you, this was back when season 1 was the only one that was out, and nobody knew that a new season was coming at all. So as far as I knew, I got into this show that was a banger for a season that never got picked up again. I freaking love this show. It was so funny, so quick-witted, and like Nagatoro, it was one of the ones that educated me on cultural norms in Japan. Where Nagatoro taught me about high school life, Devil Was a Part-Timer taught me about the workforce and how seriously minimum wage jobs are taken there. It's a reverse isekai, so it's not about guys falling into a well and turning into a fantasy world. It's about a fantasy world coming into the real world and trying to adapt to survive. But this show just has charm. It was made in a really good era for Japanese animation when all the slice of lives didn't look like they could be all in the exact same show. This show has an artistic design that really singles it out and makes for really funny scenes based off the animation alone. My timing couldn't have been better because after I finished the first season, they announced a second season was coming after nearly 10 years. So I was excited. Too bad about the second season though. Sticking with isekais, I was recommended That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime. And let me tell you, I adore this show. It is so good. It shot up to one of my top 3 favorite anime at the time. Granted, I had only seen like 5, but still. Just based off the hilarious comedy, amazing action, well-designed and creative characters, and a plotline that wasn't too simple or complicated. A lot of people seem to write it off because they compare it to other overpowered main character isekais, and to be fair, that is a very common thing, but I think Slime is different from your typical OPMC. There's just a charm and humor to Rimuru that's really unmatched in a lot of different anime. And the utter absurdity and how the character is able to accomplish their goals in the show is actually crazy and unseen in any anime I've ever watched. It often makes you forget about the tropes that the show can often feature. A huge cast of really charismatic characters that carry the show forward, like Gobta, Gabiru, Benimaru, Shion, and others with different personalities to come together to create a really unique show. It's got great immersion as far as the setting goes, which is really big for me, and very prevalent when there's entire episodes dedicated to war council meetings, expanding the fantasy world. It's a lot like Legends of the Galactic Heroes in that sense. Great music, great cinematic moments. It's just a really good standout show in a crowd of overpopulated isekais. It was then that I discovered Komi Can't Communicate on Netflix, and I love this show. I was laughing so hard at it, so consistently. I was in stitches, literally stitches, laughing at this show. And then I'd start the next episode and rip those stitches because I had to laugh again. I've gone on record with saying how funny some of the other ones I've mentioned are, but Komi had me laughing at a way more consistent pace because of the pacing. Sometimes it can feel more like a Looney Tunes cartoon with how it's structured, having episodes contain certain chapters of the manga. And I know lots of anime do that, but Komi does it in such a funny way because you can tell there's an overarching plot line, but there's just so many skits and random nonsense buried in the middle there, and it's just so funny to watch. Our main dude, Tadano, or as the fans call him, Chadano, because he's a goddamn Chad through and through, he's just great. I love him. And Komi, you really want her to succeed so bad because she does want to make friends, and you want her to make friends, but she can't. She can't talk. This one is one of my favorite rom-coms because I myself feel very socially anxious, and it's hard for me to talk to people the same way. I mean, not nearly as bad, but it really struck a chord with me personally. All the side characters are all super dope. There isn't a single wasted one or a bad antagonist trope that lots of rom-coms love to do. It's just super funny hijinks and great romance. Like, what more do you want? Great characters throughout the whole show and a fun and differentiating art style that doesn't take away from anything. My only real gripe with the show is how Netflix presents it. Like, sometimes some streaming services don't always translate the written kanji on screen, which isn't always a big deal, but in certain animes it really is, and so you have to look up what was said or what was written so you understand what's going to happen next. And in a show where the main character can't talk and only communicates through written word, it's kind of important that you translate everything she's writing down so you know what's happening on screen. Like, on Netflix, it isn't super bad. You still get the main gist of the show, but there was a couple scenes where I had to look up exactly what was said at a certain time, and seeing the results, I saw that a lot of people had to do the same thing. Apparently, this problem is fixed if you watch it on certain weird anime websites, but that's your risk, not mine. So as you'll come to learn in this video, I really like isekais and rom-coms. And so after finishing Komi, I started Science Fell in Love, so I tried to prove it. Stick with me. Another stupid name to be sure, yes, but I always appreciate and respect anime that takes a tired concept like rom-coms and tries to do creative things with it to make it different. In this case, having the main characters be super genius scientists who don't understand love, but feel it anyway. Now that's a lot of fun. That's a fun concept. Also, Science is one of those few shows where the B romance with the side characters are like way more interesting than the actual main romance, which, you know, always love that. It was also a nice change of pace that the characters are all adults. They're all in college. That's really cool. And despite that, it's one of the few anime I've seen with the least amount of fan service. Like, the one time I'd be okay with seeing it, y'all don't do it. It's not like I'm begging for it. I'm not asking for it, okay? But like, you know, it was a fun 2 seasons, but holy shit did it fall off the face of the earth with that season 2 finale. It takes such a crazy, dark, horrible turn that a lot of people didn't like, me included, but you know, what can you do? And after that, I decided to start one of my favorite shows I had ever seen, Your Lie in April. Now, I've been quoted at the time by saying, "Your Lie in April changed my life," which sounds super dramatic, but genuinely, it gave me a new perception that I don't think I had before. It had a genuine life-changing feel to the writing due to the very realistic and disturbing portrayal of grief and self-sabotage. It's about a boy named Arima Kose who was forced to play piano by his sick mother, and after she passes away, he can no longer hear the notes when he plays. There's just too much trauma. But playing piano is all he knows how to do. And with the help of his childhood friends and a new girl, he starts to learn how to play again, and he starts to learn how to live again. There's a lot more to the story, and it goes a lot deeper than just that short synopsis, but I really want to not spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, because you should watch it. It's really good. The whole first half of the show is about Arima dealing with the loss of his mom and how, because of the trauma, he can only remember the bad parts, which is an extremely easy and bad habit to fall into. And due to the people who knew his mother, or the people whose lives were changed because of the music he played, they slowly help get him past that loss. A scene that carries so much weight to me is the scene when he's talking to his aunt, and he asks her if his mom would hate him for trying to forget her all these years. And she just simply responds with, "No mother in this world could hate their child." It's just so... damn, man. Extremely sad, but also reaffirming, because it showcases how our perception of guilt and grief can be shattering, not only to ourselves, but the people still left around us. Often vision can be too clouded for us to see someone who's still right in front of us, and we don't want to see them too late because, well, we all have our own time limits on this planet. So many classical music choices that just fit the characters perfectly, and the OST that was made for the show itself, it's all just great. The brilliant choice to focus on the piece Love's Sorrow over Love's Joy, because we need to get used to sorrow, is just so... oh man. I was rooting for these characters more so than any character in any anime I had seen at that point. Just wonderfully written, beautiful story. Please watch it if you haven't. For some reason after that, I jumped to Skate the Infinity, which is a skateboarding anime. It was my first real sports anime, although my loser friends tell me it's more of a yaoi anime, but hey, it can be both, you beta cucks. Now, I had no idea it was going to be gay when I started it, but hey, I'm not complaining. It was funny, entertaining, unrealistic, sure, but hey, it's a cartoon, what do you want? And the opening and endings were straight fire, both of them. Very, very good. It has me very excited for season 2 whenever that's releasing. I feel like I keep hearing news about an event that they're doing for it, but like nothing ever comes from it, but I'm sure it's going to be fun. It was also the first anime I saw with a trap character. I had to learn what that was, and that disturbed me a little bit. Thanks, Japan. After that, I started one of the funniest anime of all time, Kaguya-sama Love is War. I love the absolute ridiculousness of this one. It was so funny, so stupid, so out of the box of what I've come to expect from anime, especially rom-coms. This one has tropes, yes, but it flips the lid on them in so many funny ways that I didn't come to expect. I gotta read this one off my phone because it's hard to remember his name. Also, Masayuki Suzuki, who did the music for each opening of each season and I think the movie, is just the perfect choice for the absurdity that is this show. I can't thank Kaguya enough for introducing me to this man. He is the sauce. Just, he is. Like, there's no arguing it or debating it. He is the man. I initially didn't love the first season when I watched it, though, because I wanted the couple to have more progress on their lives, and it really didn't feel like by the end of the first season that they made the progress I wanted, but season 2 picked up the pace in every single aspect about the show. Literally every single one. From character progression to story beats to introducing new characters, every single aspect got better in season 2. I can't tell you how many times I have died laughing at watching Miko Ino's misconceptions of what's going on in the student council room. Like, it's so funny. It's so ridiculously funny. I can't describe it. You just gotta watch it. Also, Ishigami's backstory really struck a chord with me, as personally, I've been there, and it really sucks when you're at such a pivotal growing moment in your life and all these people who are supposed to be your friends turn on you for something you never even did. It's just so... Hang in there, Ishigami. It's gonna get better. Just an amazing show overall. I can't wait to see more of it, and I often flip-flop between this one and Komi for which one is my favorite rom-com of all time. Also, one more, but we'll save that for later. They're all so funny. It's hard for me to choose, but Kaguya is unmatched. And at least it's still going. Komi ended. Well, it didn't end. They just didn't give it more seasons. It's got like 500 chapters now. It's fucking ridiculous. After that, I started Gamers, and boy, I can't tell you a single thing about this show. I had completely forgotten I watched it. I remember enjoying it enough at the time, but man, I can't tell you a single thing about it. I don't remember anything about the opening, the characters, the plot. Like, as far as I remember, it was like Misconception the anime, as that trope was used in every single episode, which I remember not enjoying, but I don't know, I gave it like a 7. I remember not hating it, but thinking it was bland. Moving on. After that, I moved on to Tonikawa, as the idea of a Crunchyroll produced anime really intrigued me, and I like this one. It's another adult rom-com, which I always appreciate, and it's got some hints of mysterious intrigue that it's hard to describe, but like it's hidden in there. It's very subtle, and I like it. There's a subtle supernatural feel to the plot that you really feel as you're watching it, guys, because most of the show is just wholesome fun. It's just wholesome adults being in love. They just got married, blah, blah, blah. There's something really mysterious about the main girl, and like she's hiding something, but like you don't always know what, and it's very subtly hinted at. I'm talking like 2 times per season, and there's only like 2.5 seasons. So like something's going on, and it really makes you feel like you don't want to accept that something may be weird in the future, because like most of it's wholesome fun, so it gives you that like sense of concern, which I really enjoy. It adds a layer of depth that you don't want to admit you've been ignoring, because the unknown can be scary. Really funny cast of characters, one of the better wholesome ones I've seen. Afterwards, I wanted to get more into sports anime, and some of my coworkers were recommending the best sports anime that there is out there, Haikyuu. I got 2.5 seasons into Haikyuu and dropped it, making it the first anime I have ever dropped. I think I've only dropped 2 other anime after this point. People fucking love Haikyuu, so I'm concerned. You gotta keep in mind, my coworkers are annoying and often shove their opinions down my throat and don't have any room to take any kind of criticism. And so when they do that with certain shows, I'm often harder on those specific shows because of that. I'm harder on JJK, One Piece, and Haikyuu because of how often they shove their opinions down my throat. Like, shut the hell up. I did initially like the show in the beginning. I really liked Hinata's work ethic. It was very admiring, and the girls in season 2 were the only reason I kept going with the show, because they were funny and added more character, but it just got so stale to me. I don't really know why. Well, I do know why. I'll tell you why. It felt to me like the character work got halted because you only ever see these guys when they're on the court or if they're training. Like, I was just waiting for cool things to happen that never really did. My friends retort this by saying, well, it's a volleyball anime. Why would they be doing anything else other than playing volleyball? And I say, I get that, but I want to know more about the characters. Get me to care about them and their interests outside the court. If it's just 100% of what they do, so it's just kind of boring to me. And the villains, oh my god. The villains felt so cringy, so stale, like just, like what are you even doing here, dog? Like oh god, like every single one was just so similar. Like there were so many times in the show when everyone on the team was so ready to play, they were so ready to get in there and on the court, and the villain that they've never seen before, or the villain that they've been studying all season, would spike the ball super hard and super fast, and they'd all stand there and watch the ball go to the floor next to them, and they just stand there like, they acted shocked every time. And it happened every single game as far as I remember. Like, why are you so shocked? This happens every game. You're just trash. The same way I wouldn't like an anime if it was all about fighting and the main character, all they ever did was fight. And the only character progression we get is training to fight. And the only bad thing that happens to them is losing a fight. So they just feel like, oh, I can't lose that next fight. Haikyuu the anime. I hope y'all like it. I really do. It's so popular, so I know people love it. Just personally for me, as far as watching sports anime, I like seeing the more slice-of-life moments in between the sports. I don't want to see just a slice of life or just a sports, but a good balance in the middle is something really good. Something like Cross Game or Slam Dunk or Skate the Infinity. And the last anime I started just before spring ended was the little indie darling, Attack on Titan. The creator, Iyasama, is just a genius at putting this masterpiece together. It's so much fun to rewatch because you see from every point, even from the first scene in the manga or the anime, how that ties into how it was all gonna end. It was all planned perfectly. It's really hard to comprehend how they did that. As mentioned earlier, when I watched JJK on Discord with one of my buddies, this is how we consumed that show. So I would only watch a couple episodes on my phone, like once or twice a week, because that's the only time we could get together to watch it. And I really wanted to binge the show because I loved it so much. And my buddy would, maybe by accident, skip important scenes. He skipped every opening and ending, a lot of post-credit scenes. I never watched the OVAs because I was only watching it through him, so I had no idea there even were OVAs. So I missed some context on Attack on Titan when I watched it for the first time, so keep that in mind. But I remember putting off the anime for so long because I was not interested. One of the biggest reasons was when the show started really becoming popular when I was like in middle school and early high school. I remember seeing the commercials for it on Adult Swim for Toonami like every single night, and just seeing the disgusting, the gross Titans in the show and the commercials. It just made me feel really yuck. I don't want to watch that show. It looks weird. And like I'm like that. I'm like, if I don't like the animation or the art style of a show, I can't watch it. It's why I never liked Jimmy Neutron all that much, or Star Wars Rebels, or Angela Anaconda. I never thought I'd be comparing the three shows, but I didn't like the art style in any of those shows, so I don't watch it. Also, Angela Anaconda is just a bad show. How did that make it to air? At least Jimmy Neutron was funny, you know? At least Rebels got good. Once I got past the disgusting designs of the Titans and realized that how ugly they are, it adds to the horror of the show, and it adds to the lore. Once I was able to accept that, oh my god, I loved it. It made me so excited to see grosser designs. Like, the more grosser and disgusting they got, the more happy I was as a viewer. Like, I never thought I'd get to that point with AOT, but almost immediately I was. It just took seeing the Smiling Titan in that first episode and the horror that dude felt when he wanted to just save the family, but immediately realized he was in deep shit and took the kids and ran. Like, that immediately hooked me. Nothing in this world had me debating the morality of the decisions that the characters are making for as long as I did. Like, I was sitting and stewing on this stuff for months and trying to decide what I would have done. And like trying to argue that the show might have been bad just because it wasn't the ending I wanted, or it wasn't as happy as I wanted it to be. But like, that makes sense in this world. It's not a happy story. It does feel like the journey is more interesting than the destination, but it's designed to feel that way. Like Eren, I was disappointed when I found out what was outside of those walls. It was just the most realistic, like, for a show that was generational and being such a crazy fantasy of like creatures that are so beyond this human realm, to find out how realistic and human the outside world really was in that world, it was just so devastating. And it's supposed to feel that way. It's supposed to make you feel empty and disheartened. So I can't hate the last season for doing that, because that's the reality of the world. If this issue existed in the real world, it would be like this, or worse. That's just reality. But about a quarter way through season 3, my buddy and I got busy and we stopped having time for Discord. And because of this, we just put off the show. And I put off the show for about 6 months before getting back into it and just watching it on my own, because we realized we can't really do Discord anymore. It just happens. But stopping Attack on Titan in the middle of season 3, when you've already skipped a lot of content, and immediately hopping back on, it's a bad call. It caused me to be so confused and so like distraught at the plot, especially once season 4 hits and it gets so much darker. It caused me to become one of the cringy haters of the show and the ending. Personally, I was missing context that I didn't understand was already there. All my plot holes and reasons for not liking the show anymore were all answered once I really thought about the show and rewatched it again. I had caught up to season 4 part 2, which I think was all that was out at the time. There were still the final chapters that hadn't released. They were like a year off, and we didn't even know that they were going to be 2 separate movies at that point. So once I finished the show, I just read the manga from start to end, and I was like, oh, this is a fucking masterpiece. This is a beautiful show, and I spent months shitting on it because I didn't understand it. I hang me from a tree, please. Like, I just, do me like Guts' mom, bro. Just, God, that got dark. Even after the ending had concluded, I had watched the show again with my mom and my brother because they had never seen it, and being able to watch their reactions and their theories, and even being able to watch a show again on my own, knowing what's coming, it's like almost more fun than watching it for the first time. It's just such a beautiful show, such a beautiful ending. Some of the best written characters I've ever seen. Some scenes in this show, especially in the last movie, are like some of the best scenes I've seen in all of fiction. Like, it's just, how did you think of that? It's just beautiful, beautiful storytelling. To the boy who sought freedom. That was cringe. I wanted to do that with a drink. To the boy who sought freedom. You would have thought after the last update that things were better. I thought they would be too. But an incident happened this spring. A long-lasting friendship just ended so abruptly. I didn't get a reason why. I just lost. No closure, no trust. And trust is a motherfucker. In hindsight, it was a long time coming, but you don't always want to see what's happening right in front of you. Despite that, I tried to convince myself that it didn't faze me, but it would become very clear that that wasn't the case. Maybe it's better if I just avoid it and try forgetting. Maybe I just need more distractions. Maybe I just need more time. So technically, I started this anime back in April, and I finished the whole thing in November. But because I watched the vast majority of it in the summer, I decided it should fit here in the timeline. It just makes the most sense. I really enjoyed watching older anime dubs, like kind of how Inuyasha was. I would mainly watch that at night because I was able to watch it dubbed, and I would just watch kind of whatever anime in the middle of the day, like Naruto or stuff like that. I'd basically put it on when I went to sleep, and then would go back and rewatch whatever I needed to catch up, and then, so on and so forth. After Inuyasha, I had decided I wanted to watch another long English dubbed anime, and I was deciding between Dragon Ball or Sailor Moon. You already know which one I started. Just say how much I freaking love Sailor Moon. Like, there's so much to adore in this show. And honestly, I started it just like, for the memes, for the kicks, just so I could say in an average conversation, hey, I've seen all 200 episodes of Sailor Moon. Tell me 2 truths and a lie about you. And 2 specific reasons I love this show so much were the characters and the art. So let's talk about the art first. The backgrounds are insanely good. Like, they have no right to be as juicy as they are, and they look juicy here. Japan has never been drawn with such elegance and class, in my opinion. Like, there's just a level of simplicity that makes it so aesthetic-y, if that makes sense. Whether it's the organic beauty of the nature scenes, like seeing bushes and trees, or the amazing cityscape shots, like the sun setting in Japan, or the outstanding nighttime city life of the bustling city of Tokyo. It's all just tremendous. Something I love about Sailor Moon, and honestly a lot of the older animes, is the unique shots that you don't really get in modern animation. Like, they draw them from angles that you don't normally see, and it's something you don't even notice. It's very small, but like when you do notice it, you're like, wow, that's different. That's cool. It's unique. The art often reflects the feelings that the on-screen characters are going through, which is something you can only truly convey with animation. Whether it's the lighthearted colors for a more fun and jaunty episode, or the dark and stormy approach to scenes when you realize that things aren't really chill right now. The overall vibe and feel of the show is like next to none. And I feel like I've been chasing this vaporwave aesthetic my entire life. And I realized when I watched Sailor Moon that I might have seen some episodes of Sailor Moon when I was a kid and just completely forgot about it until all these years later. I mean, the beauty of those pink purplish skies that illuminate the skyscrapers, or those light circles that complement the atmosphere of a shot. It's just so lovely and reminds me that Sailor Moon is often underappreciated when it comes to setting the vibe for an art style or a show. You would be surprised how much atmosphere in modern media is inspired by Sailor Moon. And lots of people don't know that their favorite thing that has this beautiful vibe to it was heavily inspired by Sailor Moon. I also got to give it to the art style of the characters themselves. I, for one, love it when animated characters wear different clothes each time you see them, and Sailor Moon does that perfectly. Y'all thought Totally Spies was sick? Check out some of this, bro. Sailor Moon is infamous for having some of the best fashion in anime, at least as far as like 90s modern Japanese clothing goes. And that's probably a good transition to the second reason I love this show so much, the characters. So it's gonna sound silly, but Sailor Moon herself is probably my least favorite character in the show. You don't watch Sailor Moon for Sailor Moon, and it's not like Usagi is a bad character. I don't really think she is. I mean, she's annoying, but she's annoying in like a charming kind of way, you know? Like it's never too bad. It's a little off-putting at first, but it's just that so many of the other characters are so well done. People often mistake the characters in the show for tropes that are often used in magical girls shows, but that's a misconception when it comes to Sailor Moon. Sure, it started the trend, and like there are some tropey vibes to some of the character personalities, but once you really watch the show, you see how different they all are. Sure, Usagi is boy crazy and Ami is the smart one, but it goes a lot deeper than that. Minako, or Sailor Venus, is probably the one with the least amount of personality. Like, it's not that bad. As far as I know, she just wanted to be famous, but she was often the humor of the group, the funny one. It goes a lot deeper than her. But Rei was my favorite for so long. She had so much heart in her character. She didn't have a ton of arcs to get through, but you really see her growth with her feud-type relationship with Usagi, despite them being so similar. And spending time with Rei when she wasn't Sailor Mars was my first experience in anime with a Shrine Maiden. Most anime just have like a Shrine Maiden episode, like a New Year's episode. They all just go to the shrine and you kind of see what they're doing, but you don't really get that much from it. But in Sailor Moon, you spent time with Rei as a Shrine Maiden outside of holidays when she just worked there. I was able to learn so much about Japanese culture through that. And she used her experience as a Shrine Maiden with her magic attacks, which was so badass. And I think it's because the creator of Sailor Moon, Naoko Takeuchi, was a Shrine Maiden herself, and so she utilized her experience to enhance her craft. The thing I love about Takeuchi as a The thing I like about Takeuchi as a creator is her ability to showcase her many interests through her art, like basing designs off runway models or brands like Dior, Chanel, and Versace. I mentioned earlier how much I love the fashion, right? And honestly, I shouldn't be surprised because she went on to marry the mangaka for Yu Yu Hakusho, and although I haven't seen that one yet, I know that those dudes got phenomenal drip. That's literally the only thing I know about that show, is that those dudes are dressed nice. And I haven't even mentioned the best Sailor Guardian that there is in the show. The one, the only, Makoto Sailor Jupiter. Mars was my all-time favorite for a while, but Jupiter is just the best. In my opinion, she has the most creative powers, using light beams and light sources instead of like fire or water, stuff like that. She doesn't really rely on tropes that much. I mean, she comes off as a little boy crazy sometimes, but once you really get into the character, you understand why she acts like that and how it goes past just a simple trope. She's very tall, and yes, we do love tall girl representation, but it's also her biggest insecurity. She hates the way she looks. She hates how tall she is. And how we look is beyond our control, and it's beyond hers, and it affects how she acts with her friends, with strangers, and especially with boys. It's a very real and grounded trait that you wouldn't really expect in a show like Sailor Moon. At least it's not something I expected. All these personalities made the group of girls, when they come together, just so much more fun to rewatch, especially when they're on the more slice-of-life episodes. Those tend to be more interesting than the action-oriented one, because often you get 5 minutes out of a 20-minute episode of just transformation scenes. There isn't a ton of romance in the show either, apart from Sailor Moon and the most useless man of all time, Tuxedo Mask. But the lack of romance adds to the dynamics of each personality. It makes them all stand out instead of just being, oh, I'm so-and-so's boyfriend, you know? I could talk about Sailor Moon for hours, and I I will, as a matter of fact. I could talk about Sailor Moon for hours, so we do have to move on at some point. But I do want to say that the ending to the first season was just perfect. It was such an incredible finale with huge stakes, and I don't want to spoil it, but like crazy things happened that could end the show entirely. It could have been the end of the show itself, and it probably should have been. Like, it's just that good and like that great a finale that like you can't top it afterwards. The rest of the show is still pretty good past that point. It's just not as good as the first season. It gets better, and some parts are better than others. Some characters are better than others, but like you don't really get the peak of the first season of Sailor Moon, especially because the show went on to introduce Chibi Usa, and she deserves to be hit by a fucking train as far as I'm concerned. So by the start of summer, I was in full binge mode. I had nothing better to do. I remember I would wake up, go to work, go to the gym, come home, watch anime, sleep, rinse, repeat. That was it. And so at the start of summer, I started Assassination Classroom. One of the funniest, I don't know how many anime I could like list off here and say one of the funniest ones I've ever seen, but oh my god, AC is just so good and so funny. I couldn't believe the stuff that Koro Sensei would get these kids up to. The plot of the show is you're a bunch of middle school kids in a really failing class. It's the lowest IQ class of the school, and because they're all like the dumb kids, they're essentially segregated. Not even essentially, they're just straight up segregated into like a really bad part of the school. It's not even on the school grounds. It's like an abandoned building a couple like meters away from everything else. And for some reason, an alien creature who's going to destroy the world in a year is their teacher, and he teaches them how to become assassins because they have to kill him so he doesn't kill the world. It's complicated, but it's good, trust me. It's also when I'm watching this show that I forget just how good the art style is. Like, it's got this like cel-shaded and very hand-drawn outline to each character that's like, it's really hard to like describe, but it's so good. It fits the show so well. It was also one of the few shows that I remember seeing with such a huge cast of characters. I mean, you literally have a classroom full of characters, and it's not just like, oh yeah, it's a class, but really you only care about the first like 5 or 10 people. No, like, I mean, yeah, there's some main characters, but you will remember every single character in the classroom by the end of the series. It's that good. Like, there wasn't a single character that by the series end that I didn't know a couple things about. Like, yeah, there's some ones that are more important than others, but like, for the most part, I remembered every single one, which is a huge accomplishment in my opinion. Nagisa became one of my favorite characters, not just in this show, but in anime as a whole, just because of the great character direction and growth that was forced upon him in very dark ways. Koro Sensei had me cackling at a near constant pace, especially the baseball episode. It's ridiculous. The show was just so consistently funny that when it started to feature really darker episodes and more tragic backstories, it hit all that much harder because of like, you didn't expect it, because you've been laughing this whole time, and then suddenly things get so serious that it's like, whoa, what are we doing here, you know? I ended up finishing the last few episodes of Assassination Classroom on a Saturday morning, and then immediately binged all 11 episodes of Anohana, the flower we saw that day, which, if you know anything about the end of AC or anything about Anohana, you'd know that I was having a rough weekend. I kept hearing through the grapevine that there were 2 contenders for the saddest anime of all time. That was Your Lie in April and Anohana. People say Clannad's pretty sad too, but I haven't seen it yet. I often flip-flop between the two as they're both devastating shows that feature how grief can affect the minds of the youth who can't really process death yet. While Your Lie in April took a more realistic approach, Anohana took a more spiritual one. And both work very well too. I don't believe in ghosts in the paranormal sense, but a ghost can just be the death of somebody you knew and the regrets you have with that person. Being haunted could just be the decisions you wish you made or wish you didn't. Anohana did really well to put that into perspective, and while I think I may like Your Lie in April a little bit more, Anohana was still very beautiful. We found you. After being devastated by the 2-hit combo of sad anime in a row, I decided to start another rando weekly. That was Love After World Domination. I always appreciate rom-coms that take creative changes to a basic formula. In this case, having a rom-com where the guy's a superhero and the girl's a supervillain, and they fall in love. And it's super cheesy, super funny, but like nothing to write home about. It's still a typical rom-com at the end of the day, but it's got really good humor. I liked it enough. After that, I watched Golf Girls, literally only to troll my coworkers who were so mad and triggered that I didn't like Haikyuu. I wanted to find the most ridiculous sports anime I could find, and just seeing Golf Girls was the right call. I honestly just wanted to say it was more interesting than volleyball. But wouldn't you know, I ended up enjoying it. It wasn't anything special, but it took the most boring sport in the world like golf and made it fun by introducing captivating stakes, engaging characters, a cute little Yuri romance, and a cute girl with a Pac-Man ball that she calls Pac-Coon. I mean, what else do you want in anime, really? And after liking Skate the Infinity and Golf Girls, I've deduced that the reason I didn't like Haikyuu was simply because it wasn't gay enough. But after seeing a few slice of lives, I decided I wanted something with a bit more pizzazz. A more serious story with grounded characters and a fun fantasy setting and an immersive world that would enrich viewers. So I started, Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? And I meant every word of that without a hint of sarcasm because this show is incredible. I think I anticipated a more fan servicey thing with this show, and trust me, that is, it's there in the show. But I was shocked to see how well written the plot was, how each arc connected to the other, and how the characters kept progressing. People I didn't really like at first became favorites by the end. Even characters that seem a lot smaller at the beginning get huge payoff in future seasons of the show. It honestly reminds me a lot of Slime in that sense, to be honest. Season 1 was pretty good, but seasons 2 and 3 shot this show up to my top 10 favorites of all time, and it hasn't moved since. I don't know where in that list it stands, but man, it's really good. It gets a lot of flack from people who haven't seen it, assuming it's just another generic isekai harem, but for one, it's not an isekai, it's just a fantasy. There's no reincarnation, none of that. And two, it's one of the few harems I've seen where the main character actually earns the harem. He doesn't just show up and all these girls drop their panties falling in love with him. He earns it. Some girls start the series cold to him and start warming up throughout the season. Sometimes it takes 2 seasons for that to happen, but it does happen. I understand why they want to bang him, it's earned there. After enjoying the previous anime as much as I did, I decided to give another anime with a very similar reputation a shot. That would be Food Wars. Now, this is fan service the anime with some cooking. I genuinely liked the first season. It had a great cast of hilarious characters, and yeah, some of them were archetypes, but that worked well into the plot that they were writing. If it plays well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. The first season was good because it mixed likable characters with good story arcs while fitting in the Food Wars stuff where it fits. The rest of the show past the first season lost its vibe entirely, at least with me. It became nothing but Food Wars each episode, at least it felt that way. It was just tournament arc after tournament arc after tournament arc. It never ended. Boring and bland villains, and with little room for development, the characters just became directionless tropes. It just became very mid. Not bad, just mediocre. Seeing as I was on the fan service train, I lost a bet and watched Kaijo. No ifs, ands, or buts about this one. I mean, there's buts. There's plenty of fucking buts in this one. I just kind of assumed it would be titties and ass, the anime, and yeah, that's what it kind of is, but I was surprised, kind of like Food Wars, with how good the first season was. It genuinely had some decent heart, and if you just ignore the ridiculousness aspect of the main plot of the show, it's not bad. If they were doing anything else other than what they're doing, if it was just a fighting anime but with the character work, it honestly wouldn't be that bad of a shonen. There's an absurd amount of stupid nonsense with this one, but because it takes the ridiculousness so seriously, it makes for some pretty good humor at times. That being said, I would not watch it again. If you meet someone and their favorite anime is Kaijo, go wash your hands, bro, please. Somehow, some way, I found the OVAs for Akame ga Kill, or the Aka Kill Theater series, I think it's called. And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I already liked Akame ga Kill, so seeing the same cast do these funny little skits was a delight. It's short, it's cute, it's sweet, and it gives a lot of love to the show, the fans, even the manga. I think a lot more serious anime should dedicate more time to making shorts like this. They'd be a lot funny. Making these little shorts could be really funny and really heartwarming to a lot of the fans. And considering how sad the anime is, often these shorts could be really bittersweet as well. By this point, I wanted to get into a different type of anime. I wanted to watch my first movie in the genre, and while I've seen some movies as a kid, I hadn't watched any anime movie since I started this journey into weebdom. And considering the endless amount of options I had, it was kind of a struggle to find the right one, but I'm really glad I landed on A Silent Voice. By the time the credits rolled, it had become my favorite animated movie of all time. At least in my top 3 favorite movies in general. A deeply sad and personal story about how ruthless children can be without proper guidance and how to deal with the guilt of decisions you weren't 100% responsible for making. It's about a boy who ruthlessly bullied a deaf girl in his class, eventually causing her to become suicidal and switch schools. After this event, all his friends turn on him and start bullying him because, well, they need someone new to pick on. He spends the rest of his adolescence being treated horribly, the same way he was treating the girl, and it doesn't make you feel good watching it. Even though he was just doing that to her, they're just kids. They're all just kids, and they just needed somebody to watch them. He decides before graduation that he's gonna take his own life, so he has a list of things he wants to do in the meantime, one of those being to apologize to the girl that he bullied all those years ago. The two then begin to fall for each other as they can finally communicate and understand each other because he learned sign language. It's a story that I related to quite a bit. I didn't realize how much I related to the main character, as most of the film is from his POV, so you see just how often he's looking at the ground, not making eye contact. And I realized seeing these shots how often I do that when I'm at work or at social events or even with friends. It's hard for me to make and maintain eye contact, and it's represented so well here. And he has such a lack of trust for everybody in the world because of what he went through, that every single person has an X on their face because he can't look at them. He can't trust them. He can't allow himself to do that. The isolation and self-sabotage that we put ourselves through when it's too scary and hard to deal with complex emotions. An extremely riveting movie with amazing animation to boot and characters that each portray resentment over lost youth. And that's something that's so easy to happen and feel because of the lack of guidance that's beyond our control as children. I cried harder watching this than I think I have watching anything in my life because of how it forced me to look at myself and understand parts of myself that I didn't realize I even had. I think that everybody can look at their childhood selves and wish that they were guided a bit more differently so that you wouldn't have made the decisions you made. And I feel that 100%. I wish it was more clear to a lot of people that could have helped that I really needed help. What we did then is beyond our control, but what we do now isn't. As adults, we have the capability to process those emotions, that baggage, that trauma, so that we don't act irrationally, and that's something that's really hard to accomplish. I mean, how many adults do you know personally that still act like teenagers, causing drama all the time, or lying constantly? But the moment you let go of your past and start to control your future, you realize that you're a lot better off. You can't change yesterday. You can't. But you can change tomorrow. Sorry for getting all sappy with that one. It's just A Silent Voice is one of my favorite movies ever made, and it caused me to really look at myself and address a lot of issues I was having at the time and even now. It's just a beautiful movie. Please go watch it. It taught me quite a lot at a time when I really needed to learn a lot, and so I will always be grateful to it for that. But seeing as it's a movie, it only took me an afternoon to watch it, so I needed another series to binge. That series being apparently the best anime of all time. For years, I kept hearing how this anime was the #1 ranked of all time since it aired till now. Nothing has surpassed it. Sometimes something surpasses it for like a week, but it keeps its #1 ranking always. That is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Now, I put off FMAB for a long time, honestly, because I didn't buy the hype. I kept hearing how it's the #1 and it's the best, and I just kept thinking, how could it live up to the hype I had for it in my head? And I remember seeing the thumbnail for it or the cover art on Hulu and just seeing some blonde dork and his robot buddy. I could not be less interested. But alas, it's 64 episodes. That's nothing to me. So I decided to give it a binge. I think it's the best animated show ever made. It captured my attention almost immediately with a damn enticing hook and really grounded characters that were so easy to root for. I want to give as little details as possible just because, like, if you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it now. And I think it's best to go in completely blind with no expectations at all. I'll never forget the utter horror and shock I felt watching episode 6. No spoilers, go view it for yourself, baby girl. There's quite a bit of notable characters, main characters and side characters, and they're all done justice and fleshed out to feel so real. Even the smallest piece of shit side characters are guys that you feel like you know so well because of how good the story is. Scary and intimidating villains, very alarming stakes, and just a touching story about two brothers who just want a sense of normalcy back after their lives were torn apart in the most horrific way possible. I have small issues with the show, but it's so minuscule compared to how great 99% of this thing is. Now, in order to reinforce my next point, I have to give credit to the amazing magic system or power system that this world has. Alchemy. Now, keep in mind, I don't know, like, what real alchemy is. I don't know if alchemy is even a real thing. Like, I never really heard alchemy used outside of this anime, so I'm going to be talking out of my ass a little bit, but bear that in mind. As far as I know, it's the science of understanding, deconstructing, and reconstructing matter. Now, let me give you a bit of an example. Let's say I have some wood and some lead, and I wanted a pencil. I could use alchemy, and now I have the pencil, but I no longer have the wood and the lead. It's only in this pencil. In order to get something, you must give something. Equivalent exchange. It is impossible to create something out of nothing. If you wish to obtain something, then something of equal value must be given. That being said, you can't just get all the ingredients you need to make a human, and you can't bring someone back to the dead trying to use this logic. That's called human transmutation, and it's the one taboo of alchemy, at least the one main taboo. Like, the government doesn't allow you to make gold, but you could still do it. But alchemy doesn't allow you to do that, because what could be of equal value to a human soul? The laws of equivalent exchange are tied directly into the plot of the characters and the decisions they make and the sacrifices that they have to deal with. It's remarkable writing that a lot of the best magic systems out there fail to do. Even Star Wars, there's like the light side of the Force and the dark side of the Force. It's not that deep. The good guys use the light, the bad guys use the dark. But in Full Metal Alchemist, it's used so well. Not anyone can just do it, and if they do it, they use it with a purpose, with a cause. It's tied directly into who they are. One of the best examples of how it's used in the narrative, and slight spoilers, but I kind of have to do it here, and everything I'm about to spoil is stuff that happened before the first episode, so bear with me. Or go watch the show, that's even better. So, our main characters, Ed and Al, they attempt human transmutation to bring back their dead mother. They fail, and pieces of themselves are lost forever. And their teacher, Izumi Curtis, who trained them in alchemy, she attempted human transmutation years ago to try to bring back her dead infant son. She failed and lost pieces of herself forever. They lost their mom, she lost her son, but they found each other. Equivalent exchange. It's peak. It's peak. It's peak. You can't beat that writing. And that's not even the best example for how amazing the writing is at tying in the power into the characters, or just how good the characters are in general. Even the guys outside of alchemy, not everyone in the world uses it. Some of the most badass characters are people who don't even use alchemy, like Hawkeye or Winry. Oh my god, or Armstrong, Olivia Armstrong. Oh my god. There are countless reasons that bring this show to the #1 spot in all of anime. I do not have time to list them all here, and there are countless people on the internet who talk about this show, so go find them if you want to. But I've met so many weebs along the way who don't really know about this show, or they've never seen it because they got into anime recently, and they've seen more of like the next generation animes and stuff like that. And it amazes me that they just write it off because it's like, well, it's an older one. Like, one, it's not even that old, and two, some of your favorite animes are heavily inspired by Full Metal Alchemist. It'd be impossible to have Demon Slayer without FMA. Shonen wouldn't be what it is without FMA. And that's true. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is one of those shows that just remind you, like, yeah, I might have some favorite animes because, the settings or the characters or the plot, but the truly great ones, the truly, truly great ones stand out above all the rest for a specific reason. One is all, and all is one. Around the time I finished FMA, Tekken Bloodlines had come out, and I watched it all in one morning. That was easy. There was only 6 episodes. Now, I've talked briefly about Tekken Bloodlines back in the Tekken Nostalgia video, so I'll keep it brief here. I liked it and disliked it. Like, there's no great Tekken adaptation. I do like a lot of them, and there's stuff to love about this. I loved Jin and Jun's relationship. Like, seeing them just enjoy life before all the crazy stuff happened is really nice. The stuff with Xiaoyu and Hwoarang was, like, perfect in my opinion. Like, damn near perfect. And even the stuff with Jin and Heihachi was just really good and fun to see. It was good to see that dynamic of, yeah, he's young and he's being manipulated into being this like cold, heartless person, but because of his Kazuma blood, he's not like that. He can't allow himself to be like that, no matter how much Heihachi wants him to be. Don't worry, there's still a lot to not like about this thing. It's way too short. It only focuses on specific characters while like not fleshing out really good Tekken 3 stories like Eddie or Brian or... So many off-screen fights. I think I saw Anna beat Yoshimitsu in an off-screen fight. Like, I was like, what the hell are we even doing? They got Fang and Steven in for some reason. Like, you could make a really good Tekken anime if you really try to. If you started at the beginning and Tekken's such a good drama when you want it to be. So just allow it to be one. Like, you don't need to do all this stuff. You don't need to focus on just the Mishimas. Harada, let me write an anime. Please, bro, please, please. I then started an old one-season anime that I watched over a long period of time because I was savoring it. I was savoring each episode because each episode that I saw was peak. It was beautiful. It was fun. Ghost Stories dub. Words can't describe how much I freaking love this thing. I had seen clips and memes from the show for years, ever since I was in high school, and I never thought they were real. I thought it was just an abridged YouTube poop from an anime that I had never seen before. For example, I remember the bunny scene. I remember seeing that back when I was like in high school and just laughing so hard at it. I had no idea it was the legitimate dub from a legitimate studio. Like, how does that even happen?
That voice again. His laugh. His funny little requests.
Touch me.
His reprimands.
Touch me harder.
Shirotami, please forgive me for bringing you back to life. I know now that it could never work between us. As much as we wanted to, it could never be. Not because you're a rabbit, but because you're black.
There's a lot of speculation and stories on why it was made the way it was. Like, it failed in Japan, so they were kind of like, do whatever you want with the English dub, and so they literally did. I don't know how true that is. All I know is I am glad this thing exists. So glad that something so ridiculously out of pocket came from an official studio. Like, that's so funny. It's really the first unofficial abridged of its era. It paved the way for some of the craziest, funniest anime clips that we've seen on YouTube all these years later. It laid the foundation for so many funny anime videos on the internet these days. Shout out the OG. Oh God, I need water. I decided after Ghost Stories that I didn't have enough comedy in my life, so I started Konosuba. Quite possibly the funniest one I've ever seen. Like, I know I keep saying that, but Konosuba is so funny. Just assume if I keep saying that I think it's funnier than the last one I talked about. Okay? Let's just do that. When it comes to comedy, there are some undoubted bangers in the scene. You got Kaguya, you got Spy Family, you got Devil Was a Part-Timer, season 1 at least. Another banger I'll be talking about a little later. You know, maybe it's the last one I'm talking about. But the way that Konosuba flipped the lid on the isekai genre is completely unheard of. Even Slime didn't do all the stuff that Konosuba did. They took tired and overused tropes and flipped the switch on them in ways that probably shouldn't have worked in hindsight. A party where each member gets more and more useless than the other, like the perverted shut-in loser who's trying his best to lead the charge, or his useless water goddess friend who only uses her powers for party tricks, to the Arc Wizard, a descendant from Crimson Demons who can only use explosion magic and faints after one use of it a day, to the extremely hot and extremely demented Knight who can never land a shot that she hits. This shouldn't have worked, but it somehow did, and it makes me happy watching these utter buffoons somehow manage to get the job done. Kazuma, the main character, is probably the biggest scumbag I've ever seen in anime, but somehow, some way, I find myself rooting for him each and every time. And to settle the score, because I know everyone was waiting to hear my opinion on the matter, but Darkness is best girl. Sorry. She is. She just is. She is. Deal with it. Get out of here with your Megumis and your Yunyuns and your Wiz. No, Wiz is pretty sick, bro. I can't lie. For some reason, after watching some pretty consistent heat, I fell back into another generic rom-com. Shikimori is not just a cutie. This one it was fun. I liked it. It's just generic. It's kind of like Gamers. Like I don't really remember much. Like it was funny. It was cute. I had good characters. It ended. You know, like it had a season. It passed. You know, it was fun. I don't know why I watch them. I like the characters. It was cute, but you know, nothing too crazy. Sometimes that's just how it goes. But then I wanted to get strange. I wanted to test my limits and see what was beyond my wheelhouse of what I was okay with watching. I started Beastars, baby. Now, the second I started this, I got so much shit from my coworkers calling me a furry, fat, useless, bottom-feeding, big, bow-legged pig boy. Now, there are some strange and questionable scenes in this show. I'm not going to say they're not. But it ties into the plot in a good way that not a lot of fan service does. And it's honestly few and far between. It doesn't happen that often. There's just like those couple scenes that everyone likes to go for when they hear about the show. It's a good and thrilling mystery that explores the idea of, can carnivores and herbivores coexist in a society? It's like a rated R Zootopia. That's a bad example. Rated R Zootopia exists. It's more like Zootopia on steroids. And it uses the fact that they're animals to tell a good and compelling story that you wouldn't be able to do if they weren't. And yes, it can get weird and mature at times, but if you're looking for a good murder mystery, I'd recommend this show. And man, once you finally get to the reveal scene of who did it and how, it's genuinely one of the more creepy and disturbing scenes I've seen in anime. Like it's so wow. A lot of people are missing out on a really good story because of their pride to not be seen as furries. And you know what? I feel bad for them. But I'm not a furry though. Not me. I mean, I don't do that. I don't dress up. I don't have a tail or anything, and I don't have a mask. I don't Move on. I sometimes feel bad for my shonen meathead coworkers because shonen is pretty much all they talk about. And as you've seen, it's not really my thing. Alas, I wanted more to talk about with them, so I decided I was going to start another shonen for them. I was deciding between Dr. Stone and Fire Force, and so I chose Fire Force. Fun fact, I have not seen Dr. Stone yet, still. Now, I enjoyed Fire Force, but I also didn't, if that makes sense. It just didn't hook me the same way that other of the shonens I have seen did, like Attack on Titan or Akame ga Kill. I had some favorites in the cast, but I didn't love any of them. Joker was cool. His backstory was not. That was not cool. Openings were straight fire, no pun intended. And overall, the plot was pretty decent, with some better than bland villains. Honestly, the villains were the good part about Fire Force. But I don't know, man. Shonen, I don't like shonen. I don't like basic shonen stuff. There's also a stupid amount of no reason fan service that ruins what could be a great character. Because I really like Tamaki, but all anyone talks about when they... Oh man, that's what happens when you talk about Fire Force. Tamaki's one of the characters I like the most, but no one talks about how good she's written. They only talk about how she constantly is losing clothes for no reason. Like it was kind of funny at first, but and then it just keeps happening over and over and over again. Like, what are we doing? I think it's got good moments and decent characters overall, but to me, just a little bit forgettable. Also, they announced season 3 forever ago, and nothing has come up since. There's one cover photo, I think, and that's it. What happened to the season, guys? Did you lose it? But then we get to peak. I overheard some of my coworkers arguing with each other, and one of them said something along the lines of, "Well, I ain't listening to your opinion. You liked Monster Musume." And I remember standing there dazed and confused and asked, "Well, what's Monster Musume?" And I remember my coworkers turned to me and looked at me with a shine and glimmer in their eye that I've never seen on their faces before. I remember finding it and putting it on my watch list, but my friend put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Alas, no, old friend." And he sent me a link to a better version online. I went home and heeded the advice of my coworkers. If you're caught, you must atone. Only watch this when you're home alone. So I did. Monster Musume is the weirdest, most out-of-pocket anime I have ever seen in my life, and I can stand on that being true today, 2 years later. I've never seen anything like it. I hope to never see anything like it again. And this bit is only funny if you've seen Monster Musume or if you know what it's about. But essentially, to save you some advice, it's monster girl porn. It's monster girl porn, the anime, and it gets weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. But anyway, the snake girl is my favorite. As we were nearing the summer, I wanted to get some of the new ones out of the way before I started my fall/winter binge. So I started the very acclaimed Cyberpunk Edgerunners. I always love good video game adaptations, although I've never played Cyberpunk. It had a really bad release, and I've heard it's better now, but I don't care anymore. I barely cared at the time. I thought it was funny when it released like that. That being said, I did not understand the huge amount of hype that this anime got. Like, I understand recency bias is a thing, and I did really like the show, but like, it won Anime of the Year that year, and a lot of good anime came out that year. That's all I'm gonna say. Animation-wise, yeah, no doubting it there. Some of the best I've ever seen, and it was really good at setting a vibe and atmosphere with creative art direction and really good music. Story-wise, though, I don't know. I just couldn't get into it because I thought it was too short for its own good, and I couldn't like relate or get attached to any of the characters and the very obvious ending that was coming. And don't get me wrong, I love a good miniseries that this studio does really well, like Fooly Cooly. I just don't think it was the same vibe. I just don't think Edgerunners accomplished the same goal that something like Fooly Cooly did. Like Main, I didn't care about Main. I thought he was annoying. I didn't really care about any of the characters. I liked Rebecca the most, probably, but like David and Lucy's romance just felt so forced. It was like, well, they're the main characters, so they have to fall in love. And it had a great dub too. Like I did like the show. Don't get me wrong. I did enjoy it. I just don't think it deserved all the praise it got. Like animation, yes, incredible. Vibes, yes, incredible. Music, yes, incredible. But story, oh my God, you guys, watch some other shows. I'm glad y'all liked it if you did. Truly, I'm glad. I liked it. I did like it. And to kick my reputation more in the mud, right after Cyberpunk, I watched My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex-Girlfriend. Now, hold on. Just based off the name, it sounds like a totally dead brain anime that's just gonna be fan service, and I didn't think it would be. I honestly was excited to watch it because one of my friends who really likes rom-coms told me that it was actually pretty good. And this isn't the best rom-com by any stretch of the imagination, but it takes a very real situation like your dad getting remarried and your new stepsister is your ex-girlfriend from last year. Like that's real and that's not fun. It's tricky because when you watch a rom-com, you're normally rooting for the couple to get together, but you start this show with them already past their relationship and being thrusted back into each other's lives in a situation where they can't really get together. It's very awkward and it's very sad. It gets a lot of crap for the title, but when you actually watch it, it's pretty good. The breakup flashback I thought also was really good because it's so easy, especially when you're young, to let immature pride ruin a good relationship, whether that's like romantic or not. And watching how easily that can influence our decision making was represented really well here, especially when most rom-coms just do the misunderstanding trope. It's not bad. It's not bad is all I'm gonna say. I also watched the short AOT Junior High because regular AOT just made me sad. I love this thing. It is so funny and I wish they did more. I honestly wish AOT would just make an anime of like the Attack on Titan school series that the mangaka kind of does a little bit from chapter to chapter. Like that's really good and I wish they just did more of that. But AOT Junior High was so funny, so stupid. I wish more serious anime would do something like this. Like imagine if we got a JJK Junior High or a Bleach Junior High. I think those would do really well. I'm gonna try to speedrun the last few for summer as I saw them very quickly as they released. So starting with The Devil Was a Part-Timer Season 2, I was very disappointed. I mean, it's still good at this point, and it's definitely not bad, but like they changed the art style to make it look like any generic slice of life, which is super unfortunate. Like I mentioned earlier how much I love the art style and animation in Season 1, and look at Season 1, and then look at Season 2, and look at the difference in how they're made and how they're drawn. Like you could tell, and a lot of the humor that Season 1 was able to accomplish because of its art direction, you can no longer do in Season 2. It was also around this time that I got spoiled on the very controversial ending to the manga, and even with context, I don't like that ending, and a lot of people didn't like that ending, and seeing the seeds of that start to get planted here, I was just more and more uninterested, which really sucks because Season 1 is really, really good. what can you do? And it's not like I wanted the creators to shift their focus for what I prefer. That's super pretentious. But like, for me, it killed the love I had for the show. I still like season 1. I still love season 1. And I like season 2, but I didn't like season 3. I didn't like. And another aspect about it that I didn't like is that it made it so much more about using magic and their original magic from their original world. What I liked about the reverse isekai was that they were magical people who were thrusted into reality and had to adjust. Like, that's where the humor of the show comes from for me. So seeing them just like get more and more demons and more heroes and all these angels and all this stuff, like I didn't need an apocalyptic show. I wanted a slice of life. I was able to catch up on the weekly Girls in a Dungeon season 4, which was absolutely insane. It will always amaze me how good that show is and how it consistently gets better and better. Focusing the entire season on one dungeon quest that went so horrifically wrong is just an insane task, and I can't believe they were able to accomplish it as well as they did, while also fleshing out one of the best side characters in the show, Ryu. She is amazing, and her backstory, you actually get to see it this time instead of just talking about it. Wow. Just a great fantasy with awesome characters. I personally can't wait for season 5. We are eating, baby girl. Around this time, I also started Call of the Night, and along with Girls in a Dungeon 4, those were the first animes I watched on High Dive instead of Crunchyroll. A very different rom-com than I was used to. It mixed mentally ill insomnia with vampires and the beautiful nightlife of Japan. It was beautiful to watch. Very little slice of lives that I've seen have been able to replicate this. I remember getting stoned as shit when I watched it, and the first time they played that song by Creepy Nuts, I forgot what it's called, but I know it on YouTube, I have it on Spotify, and I'm sure we already got copyrighted, so Nate, play the song, because I felt like I was fucking levitating, man. I felt like a king. I felt like a vampire flying through Japan. The music is just so great in this anime too. The openings and endings are just absolutely astonishing. I remember the opening actually tricked me into thinking that it was over when I saw all the characters in the room and they were just like looking at the TV. I thought the episode had started, and then the floor opens up and the chorus comes back just one more time. Like, oh man, it's so good. The character work is actually really good too, with Nazuma being a funny, rambunctiously shy vampire and the main character Ko actually having guts, which is a rarity in rom-coms. The side characters are all fun too. The vampires all add a layer of danger to it, and the childhood friend really makes me want to root for her. Just an overall joyful experience that I can't wait to see more of. Why can't I forget? Why can't I just move on? Why does it seem like everything's getting worse? I don't really trust people right now. I don't trust the friends around me. They hit me up to hang out, but I don't go for it. Old friends want to get the gang back together, but it doesn't feel the same with people missing. I'm not really in the present moment anymore. I'm not really listening anymore. I'm just waiting for you to stop talking so I can isolate myself again. I don't trust you, but I trust me. I can't hurt me the way you can. Maybe I just need to smoke more. Maybe if I just get high more often, I'll relax. That's what everybody says, right? I just want to ease the stress. Let's try that. Now, I had a vibe I wanted to set for fall and winter, and I wanted to catch up on as much anime as I had to before I started to do that. Seeing as I never saw the movie Your Name before, and I really wanted to watch it, I decided to give that a shot before starting my binge. Wow, what a movie. Genuinely breathtaking animation, an extremely wonderful romance story, excruciatingly heartbreaking at times when what you want is suddenly stolen from you. Just everything everybody says about this movie is 100% true, and I could totally see how it changed a lot of people's perception of how storytelling can be done with animation. I still think I like A Silent Voice a lot more than Your Name, but I love them both. They're both absolutely amazing movies. It's just a personal preference for what that movie did to me, but I love both. I genuinely understand why people praise this movie as one of the best that can never be replicated, even in live action. Hollywood, why do you hate fun? Watch it if you haven't, it's wonderful. But the vibe I was hoping to set for fall and winter was nostalgia. Nostalgia to think back from when I was a kid watching Toonami on those late Saturday nights and seeing old English dubbed anime for the first time. Now, I don't want to start a sub versus dub argument here. For the most part, I'm like 90% sub, but often when I watch older animes, I'll choose the dub just to see, because often those dubs were casted really, really well because that was the only way to cater these shows to American audiences. Now, it's not to say that they don't cast dubs well these days. I do like a lot of modern dubs, but just for me personally, it hit different when I was a kid. It's a nostalgia thing for me. I'm not judging how you consume media. It's all preference, blah, blah, blah. Just leave me alone. But the first anime that I had started with this in mind was Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I once had some sweet memories. Each world remains all the same. How can I?
Now, it took me about a month to watch the whole series, as there's quite a bit of movies, and for some reason it's harder for me to find time to watch a movie. Although I could watch like 6-7 episodes of any anime like in one night, and that's longer than the duration of a movie. Ignore me, I'm an idiot. But in all seriousness, Eva is one of those animes that can truly hit you if you're not prepared for it. I really had no expectations going in. I just thought it'd be a good mecha, and it is, but holy shit. The plot of this show was essentially a deep dive into a very depressed mind of some man in the 90s, and it's shown so clear in every aspect of the show. From the atmosphere showcasing just the silence of a near dystopian civilization. You can really immerse yourself in the ambience of this show. The character work is super great and showcases everyone's flaws in ways that not a lot of shows are able to do. And it's got a lot of perspectives of people ranging from 14-year-old Shinji Ikari to his dad, or the adults who work for the company. Like there's so much range in all of the characters, and you see it all. Everyone is distorted, and everyone is struggling, and everyone is trying to hide that by doing what they have to do, but you can't live like that forever. Everyone breaks down, everyone fails. And it's usually because they're trying to hide their struggle way too much. I have two favorite scenes that I want to talk about specifically. One is with Asuka and Rei in the elevator. Just the silence of this scene was so captivating to me the first time I watched it, and it really made me feel for these two characters who were just destined to be in the same place at the same time. It's something that would fly over most casuals' heads and be labeled as a cost saver scene, but no, it's not like that. You really feel the tension building up in this scene. And the second one I want to talk about is the kissing scene between Asuka and Shinji, just because it's so sad. It's a rare, genuine moment between two young people who really like each other but have both been through way too much to address it literally, so they hide behind their own insecurities. And if this scene went differently, so would have the entire show. I'm not the first to point it out, but I love the small details in this show, like Asuka wearing Misato's clothes, because deep down she does feel a maternal connection to her. Or someone like Dr. Akagi not wearing any makeup when Commander Dickhead Ikari isn't around. Just those details are such a small aspect of what makes Eva so unique. And those who have seen the show know that I haven't even scratched the surface of what makes it such a compelling story. It gets insane with how fucked up the storytelling gets. Just know that this guy fucking sucks. Fuck Commander Ikari. All my homies hate Commander Ikari. After having my mind blown by Eva, I decided I was in a mecha mood, so I decided to give another mecha a shot. That would be Code Geass. First of all, the first opening, Colors by Flow, one of the best openings I have ever heard in my life. Genuinely one of my favorite Japanese songs ever made. It's incredible. Secondly, I love how overdramatic this anime is. I know that most, if not all, anime is overdramatic to some extent, but how ridiculous the plot is for this one, and how seriously the characters take it, and how seriously the story is taken in that world, and like it dips into how ridiculous it is, and it makes it more enticing to watch. Like, I love the main character Lelouch and how dramatic he is. He always poses and does a weird monologue before he uses his power, and like he wouldn't have time to use his power with me, dog. I'd fucking nerd. I just loved how cheesy Lelouch was as a main character, and how he could easily portray the protagonist and the antagonist depending on how you looked at the plot. I was rooting for him for so long, but once I started to see that his actions had consequences affecting the people around him, I realized, yeah, he's doing what he has to, but I can't root for him as a hero anymore. Like, whatever bad things happen to him is kind of his fault, and I understand it's the world he lived in, but man, it made him a villain. Personally, I just wanted him and Shirley to be born into a kinder world, because, man, they didn't deserve what happened to them. I really enjoyed all the side characters and all the members of the royal family, and man, the season 1 plot twist at the end had me so stressed out trying to understand the complexities of the plot. Like, it's so crazy. Season 2 definitely is a little weaker. I won't say it's because of Rolo, but I'll just put a picture of him up here because, you know, he's a fun little guy. I don't think it's completely his fault because the show just gets so insane towards the end that it doesn't even feel like the same show anymore. Like, once you get to the last 10 episodes, you're like, what the hell is even happening anymore? Like, what even is this anime? And I know lots of people praise the ending as one of the best endings in anime, and while I do respect it and like it a lot, I don't really hold the same sentiment. I mean, it's really good and extremely depressing, but I don't know if it's like the best that's ever been written. Also, the shell shock I endured when I got to the second opening of the show after the banger that was Colors by Flow. As a matter of fact, let's listen to it. Let's watch like 5 seconds of Colors by Flow and then watch 5 seconds of the next one. Real quick, this is the first opening. Pretty good, right? All right, let's get to the next one. Moving on. I had been in the mood to get more into Shinichiro Watanabe's work beyond Cowboy Bebop, and my buddy recommended me his personal favorite, Samurai Champloo. Now, when I was a kid, I remember hearing about this anime and seeing a little bit of it on Toonami, and for some reason, my entire life, I thought it was called Samurai Shampoo. Like, shampoo for your hair. Like, I genuinely thought that's what it was called forever. Like, I can't explain it. I almost immediately loved this show. It reminded me a lot of the Boondocks, which I now know took a lot of inspiration from Samurai Champloo, not the other way around, but it reminded me of the same, like, vibe. It was my introduction to Nujabes, or Nujabes, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I don't know the official term. I've heard differentiating things. And Nujabes was actually my #1 artist on Spotify Wrapped the following year. That's how much this hit me. I just love the dynamic of this trio and how different they were from each other and how that difference made them react differently and how they wanted to control situations individually. It was a very different dynamic compared to the Bebop crew. One of my favorite episodes is when the character Jin falls for a girl who's being forced into a brothel and the anguish he puts himself through trying to get her out. And the tragic part is that he fails. He fails to save her. And when we get that scene of him walking in the rain and how it parallels to her being, it's haunting. The show overall is a lot of emotions, often funny, really good action, and sad, but I think because of Bebop, I expected more sadder moments, more sad scenes, and definitely a sadder ending. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of solemnness here, and it is a background theme, but it's more hopeful. These characters have a lot more fight in them compared to Bebop, so the show is more about them accomplishing their goals compared to them running away from their past. It's like Cowboy Bebop is more about confronting the past demons, while Samurai Champloo is about facing the inevitable future. Space Dandy, on the other hand, is just a hilarious acid trip. I don't want to downplay the significance of Dandy, as it's by the same creator and we know him for his talent in writing and character understanding, but this feels so different from the other shows, which is funny because it's in a very similar setting to Bebop. But it takes a completely different take having a totally incompetent dude and his robot buddy and feline friend completely failing at everything they try to do. There is so much smart humor in this show, it's honestly incredible, but even going past that, there's also a lot of sad moments and very somber episodes. And they portray varying levels of grief and trauma. The dog episode broke me to my core. Most dog episodes do these days. But my favorite one was the Dandy and Scarlet episode, where they have to pose as a couple for some odd reason, and they end up falling for each other because of course they do, even though they're complete opposites. Scarlet hates Dandy, and she hates that she constantly has to deal with him at her job because he's totally incompetent. But when it comes to being there for each other, they really understand each other more so than anyone else. And I felt so much anger by the end of this episode because, god damn it, Scarlet, just turn around. See him. He's calling for you. Oh, it's so good. Also, the animation alone is absolutely incredible. It's so trippy and fluid, but it sets the vibe for a scene in ways that not a lot of animation is able to accomplish. It's hard to explain, but it's why people like Spider-Verse so much, because it uses the art style to portray how the characters are feeling in a scene. And Space Dandy does it very well. I wish they made more, but honestly, I probably wouldn't love it as much if they did. Space Dandy. He's a dandy guy in space. And that brings us to the last anime I watched that year, Toradora. An old friend recommended this one to me after hearing that I liked older animes and rom-coms. And honestly, I had no expectations going in. I just thought it was another cool slice of life from an older era of anime. But boy, man, that first episode is so funny, and it sets the tone for exactly what type of show this is gonna be. It's got a lot of misunderstanding tropes, but that's because the two characters are both in love with other people and slowly realize that they're in love with each other as they try to help each other out to be the other person's significant other. It's complicated, but it's super cute, it's super sweet, and I love it. And I really thought it was gonna be lighthearted humor throughout, but there's also a lot of really good portrayals of adolescent sadness. And after you finish watching the show and really analyze those scenes, you can tell that those moments of youth really drive these characters forward. There's some small stuff about this show that I honestly don't like, and some characters overstay their welcome. I'm talking about that blue-haired chick. I never liked her. I don't even remember her name. It's not even worth looking up. Fuck her. But going past that point, it has the best tying the knot scene in any rom-com anime that I've ever watched. It's so good. It's just so wholesome and rewarding after watching the whole season with these characters. Like, you really feel that ending. Taiga is a prototype tsundere, and you can really see that in her childish behavior. But after analyzing her behavior and looking at her past, you can completely understand why she acts that way. She isn't just some mean girl for the sake of being mean, like a lot of people kind of expect her to be. It all roots back to how she was treated when she was younger. You genuinely see the growth with her from beginning to end. The Christmas episode broke mine and a lot of other people's hearts, and I'm really glad that I coincidentally watched this during the holidays. It really added that extra layer of immersion. And it had an ending that really respected the growth of the characters, that even if the audience didn't expect it or necessarily want to see it, it's where these characters would be by the end of this story, and I respect that. Just a very well done slice of life, one of my all-time favorites. It's lovely. Things are a little better. It was a pretty busy winter. Lucky me. Work's hard, it's stressful, and the days are long, but it's created a sense of camaraderie. I work with my friends, so it feels like I don't need to hang out with them as we talk at work every day. And with the longer hours, I'm realizing a bit more how different people are. I'm starting to rediscover my creativity. It's only a tiny bit, and I'm terrified to chase this goal again after so much failure, but more so, I wasn't alone last time. I feel alone in this, but maybe I'm not. There's a light at the end of this tunnel. It's just a long distance away. I just need to keep moving forward. One whole year after starting this anime journey, I had been through a lot in my personal life and in discovering Japanese entertainment and its cultures. And it's only natural that since I started this whole journey with one of Rumiko Takahashi's best work, I should start the next year with another one of her bangers. That would be Urusei Yatsura Remake and Original. Now, I had been wanting to watch the remake for quite a while, in fact, but after seeing that a remake was coming, I just decided to wait for that to come out. Almost immediately, I fell in love with this idea. Takahashi just has a way of writing amazing characters that's just completely unmatched in any mangaka I've ever seen. She fully understands humor, romance, and adventure from so many different perspectives, it's honestly insane. But having watched the remake, I've since watched a lot of the old anime and realized that the remake is a lot closer to the manga than the old one was, in fact. The old one had more filler, and I have trouble deciding which one I like more. The classic has so much heart, it's got so much love. It's got some stuff that's a little dated, but the remake fixes everything that it needs to fix, and it doesn't change anything that it needs to change. It's perfect. It's got the better design for Lum, in my opinion. It's got less wasted characters, in my opinion. And it's voiced so well, and the voice cast is amazing. They got the original Lum to play Lum's mom, and the original Ataru to play Ataru's dad. Oh my god, bro, there's so much heart. Even in the openings, you can see how much love they have for the source material in this remake. It's not enough people are watching it, bro. Not enough people are talking about it. Pretty much only Urusei Yatsura fans are talking about it, which is unfortunate because it's really good. Lum is just so wholesome and hilarious, and it parallels perfectly to Ataru's falsely womanizing attitude, and it doesn't come off as sexist like a lot of anime does, most of the time. Ataru is a bit of a scumbag, but he's got enough redeeming qualities about him that makes the show fun to watch, and you really watch it for how wholesome Lum's love for him is, and his eventual growth. And honestly, I love every single character in this show, and all of their different personalities come together to clash to make the most ridiculous anime I've ever seen. There's so many times where the characters are just like, what even the fuck is going on? Because of how stupid it is. It makes no sense. They pull out giant hammers out of nowhere. It's straight up Japanese Looney Tunes. Like that, I have no way to describe it other than that. From Mendo to Ran to Shinobu to Sakura to motherfucking Kotatsu Cat. Everything about this show is so amazing and is a constant reminder of how talented Rumiko Takahashi is. She revolutionized isekai with Inuyasha. She revolutionized comedy with Ranma 1/2. She revolutionized romance with Maise no Koku and Urusei Yatsura. Imagine being the blueprint in literally every genre you've attempted to write. That is like nearly impossible. There was absolutely no question and no doubt to why Rumiko Takahashi is the queen of manga. Also, I wanted to give a quick shout out since we're talking about Urusei Yatsura. There's an Instagram page called Aesthetic Yatsura. There might be an underscore in between the words. And they literally just post a clip or a photo of Urusei Yatsura like almost every day from the original. And like the atmosphere from those shots, like that's what I love about the original, is that the atmosphere is insane. It's drawn beautifully, and that page perfectly represents how amazing that show is. Absolutely love it. Also, the YouTube channel Pablito Musashi or Mushashi, it'll be on screen, but like they post Urusei Yatsura clips from the show like pretty much immediately after it airs. You could essentially watch entire episodes of the show based off that channel. Some get taken down, but the really cool thing is with the newer uploads, he posts the clip from the remake, how it looked in the original, and how it looked in the manga, all in one clip. Like I love that personally. As a huge nerd, as a huge fan of the series, I love those two guys. They're awesome. And that is how I lost a year of my life to anime. It became painfully obvious that I needed to try new things and fix certain aspects about my life, fix behavior patterns that I didn't like, and I think I've gotten a lot better at that since that year. At least I learned constantly distracting myself with work wasn't working out. I've calmed down on the crazy amount of binging from that year, but I've still seen a crazy amount of good stuff since then, and I've also made a lot more time for myself. It's all about prioritizing. I've seen a lot of classics since then, like Legends of the Galactic Heroes, Fooly Cooly, Death Note, Soul Eater, Steins Gate. Steins Gate really sucks. And Azumanga Daioh pretty recently. I love that one. That one is so funny to me. I've also seen a lot of the new school bangers like Oshinokeo, Hell's Paradise, Heavenly Delusion, Free Ren. I've also dipped my toe into Ghibli movies with Kiki's Delivery Service, Princess Mononoke, Porco Rosso, and Tales of Earthsea. One of those things is not like the other. And there's still a lot of bangers out there that I haven't even touched yet, like Black Lagoon, Great Teacher Onizuka, Mob Psycho, or Demon Slayer, which I still haven't seen despite it being the first anime I almost watched. There's really no right or wrong way to get into anime. You just see what piques your interest and you start somewhere, while also knowing what's a good and healthy way to binge and not avoid people who just maybe want to hang out with you. I ended up getting sober for a full month not long after that year, just so I would stop being so reliant on weed to make me feel better. And I've gotten a lot better at smoking in moderation since then. I dedicate at least 1 month of every year to being sober. But more than that, I finally got therapy. Therapy has been a very unique experience, and I've learned a lot on how to work through my issues instead of just trying to avoid them. It's still a long road ahead, but it's a start. And also learning that sometimes if the most important thing in your life is whatever's happening on whatever show you're watching, then things could be a lot worse. But anything can be better too. I think that everyone is a constant work in progress and we're all just trying our hardest, and it's pretty cool that shows created on the other side of the globe can teach us a lot about our own perspectives. I live in a pretty good era and place, and I'm very grateful for that, and I try not to forget it. I try to remind myself of that things can be worse, but don't be too hard on yourselves. We're all just doing the best we can. And I guess that wraps things up. I hope you all like the vibes for the channel that I'm trying to set moving forward. It's just easier for me to yap about things I'm passionate about in this type of setting compared to using a little animated guy who's unfinished. If you made it this far, then you are a real peach, and if I didn't mention an anime that you like, leave it down below and I'll see if I've watched it since then, or I can add it to the list. Or if you're a Haikyuu fan, you can tell me how much you hate me. Please remember, I'm just some guy. My opinions do not matter. So, like always, thank you for watching, and remember, care responsibly. Woo!
Fuck you, Nate, cuz. Fuck you, Nate. Fuck you, Nate. Fuck you, Nate. Fuck you, Nate.